The question of the day: who are you? You are the dream of possibilities. I say believe it, dream it, be it, live it, practice it. No idea, as inspiring as it is possible until you discover how to practice. It's about being who you are, and to have a conversation where we invite each other and whoever may be listening to begin their journey of breath, time, and possibilities by taking ownership for who they are. Tick tock, tickati-tackati talk. Here we go. It's time for the Mr. PaulCast.
Hello and welcome back, everybody. Hope you survived the week. You were all missed. And as always, it's a pleasure to welcome all of you into this journey, this time, this space. And as usual, I'm not alone. I've brought a friend, and his name is Mr. Paul. Mr. Paul, how are you?
I am what I believe.
Oh, yes. Yes, indeed.
And the one thing I do believe, Douglas, is that you are, I am, we are awesome. We are worthy to be who we are just because we breathe in and out.
Amazing.
So how are you today, Douglas?
I am very well, Mr. Paul. I am very well, and quite happy again that, we have another opportunity to come and share some insights, share some knowledge, and in the process, hopefully find a kinder way to be in all areas and aspects of our life. Indeed.
Right. So building upon, I guess this is our third conversation.
Yeah.
And to stop making assumptions, start asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
So in an effort to not make assumptions, that this whole conversation, this organic conversation, really is about taking time to establish a framework that acknowledges you for who you are and does its best to inspire you to consider the idea of finding a kinder way to write your story, to create the fun so results will come. And I guess what inspires me, and I guess in my journey as a musician, as a professor de musique, as a student of music over decades and decades, is that I've always said music was my tool to teach life skills.
Yes.
And as I journeyed in my own personal journey, and obviously hanging with young people and families and friends in various frameworks of choirs and festivals, it's become clear to me that what is not talked about is how and what is practice.
I think everybody has their own version depending on the teacher or depending on how they approach practice themselves. For some people, it's, it's a good time, you can focus, buckle down, get some stuff done. For other people, not so much a fun time. They'd rather be watching TV or playing video games or something,
And so thus I feel like I have a voice in the area of the experience, the topic of practice. And of course, what is practice? It's what you believe.
Here we go.
It goes back again to the very beginning.
Yeah.
Breathe in, breathe out, smile. The mindful choice which leads to mindful practice. But practice, the practice of making mindful choices. But what do you believe a mindful choice is? What do you believe, right? And so all these things come back to what you believe. And so I come back to what I realized, what I shared at the beginning, that you are awesome just because you breathe in and out, whether you stumble or soar, whether we agree or disagree, whether you're joyfully sad or sadly joyful. So when a student comes in through the door, or I stand in front of a choir, or I'm standing at a music festival, the first thing I let everyone know is I take the time to make the mindful choice to invite everyone to consider the idea, the possibility that you are awesome. You are awesome just because you breathe. And that as you step up to the piano to do your best, or to sing, or to do whatever activity, whether it be in a play or at school or talking to a friend or in relationships, that you take the time to acknowledge who you are and take ownership for who you are. Because where we're going today into the actual activity of practice is a byproduct, is an extension of who you are.
Okay.
So there's the practice of being who you are, which then establishes the talking point, the reference point, the source of the experience, the activity of practicing, the physical activity of practicing.
Gotcha. Okay.
So for me, listening into the world, everyone talks about the external activity of practicing. And I'm trying to encourage people to consider the mindful choice of taking ownership of who you are before you enter into the activity of practice. So what is practice? Practice is anything that you're doing. In other words, everything you do, everything that I'm saying right now, I am practicing.
Yes, we touched on that last week a little bit.
Right.
Yes.
So what you practice, you are learning. You are becoming. So if I have what I call a conversation here that says I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm blah, 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 I am practicing that. Whatever that byproduct of those words and images and thoughts, I am becoming.
Yes.
Thus, if you really truly want to evolve or change the texture of your journey of breath, time, and possibilities, then it starts at home, making a mindful choice to mindfully practice acknowledging who you are. Thus, we've said this before. What do you believe?
Yes.
And then people will say, about what? What do you mean? So again, there's the first step. And so I've offered that in our conversations, and thus repeat again. The only thing that I believe is that we are awesome, that we're worthy to be who we are. As we make mindful choices to create experiences that perhaps I'll begin to discover more about who I am and how I can express myself, whether it be in the activity of piano, singing, hockey, tennis, school, physics. But it comes
and I think that's
back.
that's an important note for our viewers too. This is not just solely in regards to practice as it regards music or the arts. This is applicable to life in general, because as you say, anything that you are creatively thinking, anything that you are not creatively, I would say actively, anything you are actively thinking, you are putting into practice, and that becomes your reality the more and more you believe that.
So I come back. If you haven't made a mindful choice, you are practicing mindlessly. So in other words,
zombie style.
I phrase this way: like, does the mind control the body, or does the body control the mind?
The mind controls the body.
So if you don't make a mindful choice to acknowledge who you are, I assure you, as soon as someone does something, says something that doesn't acknowledge you for who you believe you are, or acknowledge you in the way you believe you should be acknowledged, or think you should be acknowledged, or you should be acknowledged because it's politically incorrect to speak that way. Okay? So remember, I'm not interested in any of that noise. Because if you take ownership for who you are and know you're worthy, it changes the conversation.
Yes.
But unfortunately, I shouldn't say everyone, unfortunately, we live in a world where we encourage each other to spend time in the noise.
It's true.
So I can't change the fact that there's a virus floating around right now. But I can make a mindful choice how I'm going to acknowledge myself. in the journey of living within a world that has a virus that there are so many unknown things about. And lots of conversations that the rainbow of ideas regarding, so what is not. It is what you believe.
Yes.
And so, yes, I'm not minimizing anything. I accept everything and see it as it is. But what do I believe? I believe whether I get the virus or not, I'm still worthy to be who I am. So I have the choice in life to how I respond or react to what's happening around me.
Yes.
And then even on a more intimate level where change really does occur within myself. So we spend way too much time talking about the external noise.
Yeah.
And so I had an interesting conversation. As I've said before, the belief system of our communities, of our institutions, have created the issues that confront us today. So if you're looking towards the belief system that has created the challenges, the problems, et cetera,
you are.
What do you believe that makes you believe that we can resolve these challenges within the belief system that created them? So I'm encouraging to go back and let's have a conversation about the belief system.
Yes.
And the adjustments have to start there. And the byproduct of that belief system will resolve some of these challenges that exist. So once we get into justifying, explaining, defending, you're on a loop of external noise where there will be no resolution.
Exactly. So you're saying we need to bring it back home, essentially. You don't solve the problem of, say, food burning on the stove by turning up the heat.
Correct. So it comes back to my statement. Taking ownership for who you are. And how do we do that? Take time to acknowledge that you are worthy to be who you are. When you feel safe and welcome to be who you are, you will take ownership for your actions. But when we're measuring each other by praising good, bad, right, wrong, or praising you for all the amazing things that you do and create, and bypass taking time to acknowledge the person. That's why you hear me say, thank you for being you.
Yeah.
And I am grateful that you will sit with me and bring your insight regarding technology and creating the framework that this conversation could go out into space. And maybe perhaps someone will hear it that we can inspire them to begin taking ownership for who they are. But until each of us take ownership for who we are and mindfully practice taking ownership. So what is practice? The first thing is taking ownership for who you are.
Who you are, yes.
Then making a mindful choice about what you wish to accomplish.
Yeah.
And then once you make that mindful choice, act upon it. Put it into action. Live it. Be it. Experience it. So a mindful choice requires you to put it into action. How many people say, I want to lose weight? And we're having the same conversation 10 years later.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to be sad anymore. I don't want this. I don't want that. But it never changes.
Yeah. You have to put it into practice.
Because we don't make a mindful choice. Well, we make a choice to have the conversation about wanting to lose weight. But we don't make the mindful choice that we act upon.
Yes.
We don't act upon it. We don't put it into action. We don't live it. In other words, we don't create the experience.
Yeah.
And the experience is a process, a framework that you live breath by breath. And then you answer the question, yes or
no.
No. If it's a yes, and here's where we all fall down and stumble, you repeat again, repeat until you lovingly entrap yourself, your muscle, your emotional, your intellectual DNA of that experience that you were looking for. But if it's a no, you go back and assess again. What did I experience? Okay, did I really fulfill my mindful choice?
Right.
Right, and then I make another mindful choice, and move forward. So it's that simple. So I go back. If anyone's been listening, I don't know, Douglas, how did you do this week with how many breaths were you mindfully aware of breathing and smiling and acknowledging that you are?
Awesome.
How many were you aware of mindfully this week?
Honestly, the ones that I can count happened in the morning, first thing. And funny enough, in moments where I was mindless. For example, forgetting, even in the setup of this particular podcast, I set up my microphones as per usual, but there was one setting that I normally check off that I forgot to do. And because I was too focused on the noise of, oh my goodness, this isn't working, what have I done, I didn't mindfully go back to be like, did you, in fact, take the time to acknowledge the process or the framework that you had put in place to get this to happen? You know? So I found in mornings I was able to do it, but really it was more stressful moments where it was like, oh my goodness, there is all of this stuff that is happening around me. I need to take it back. What is this? Why is this happening? In other words, what do I believe is happening?
Right. And to stop that noise, you have to make a
mindful choice.
So there's the first thing right? Instead of getting into the conversation of all that noise, if you want that to disappear, you have to make a mindful choice to give yourself permission to stop that conversation. To stop that chaos. And the safe place to create that is breathe in and smile. How long does that take to do?
Oh my goodness. If you really want to draw it out, perhaps 3 seconds, but usually you can do that in a second and a half, 2 seconds.
And if you mindfully practice breathing in and then attach the smile, what happens within time and through time is suddenly, just because I breathe, the smile's in the breath, and I'm already, without even having to say it, it's become part of my DNA that just in the breath, I am free, the breath of possibilities. But everyone wants the solution
right away.
The noise.
To
the noise. But we don't take the time to develop the discipline, the framework that will support you in your external chaos. So I'm telling you, the one thing that, if you don't do this, you're dead. Don't tell me you don't have enough time. What it is that you just don't take the time to mindfully choose to acknowledge the breath, which really is acknowledging
yourself, who you are.
Are you not worthy to be acknowledged?
Yes,
you're worthy to be celebrated. You are loved and celebrated. But again, you see, I shouldn't say no one. Our tendency is, because of the belief system within our communities, within the world, many parts of the world, it's about getting somewhere. It's about achieving. It's about producing at the cost of who you
are. And I'm glad that you brought that back up, because in the earlier part of the conversation, you emphasized that and talked about the focus being on the external noise. So what have you accomplished? What have you achieved? And how many times have we seen individuals achieve great things? They look great on paper. They won this award, that award. But then behind it, they're a broken individual. Behind it, they're sad because no one's acknowledged that they have problems that no one else is paying attention to, or I would say no one is mindfully aware of, because they're so focused on the superficial.
But I'll come back and say, believe, dream. Believe in the dream. You are the dream. Nothing is real until you believe it and practice it. So I come back and say, stop being a victim of your experiences of your beliefs and start being the champion of your story.
Yeah.
Of writing your story.
You're right.
And that requires you, if you want to be a champion, to start making mindful choices that you put into action, that you act upon, that you live, that you experience. Only by taking ownership for who you are within an experience will you discover and learn. In other words, experiences do happen. Mindless experiences happen all the time. And something will happen. You go, oh, I like that. Like, what is that? I want that.
Yeah.
But because you didn't make a mindful choice before that experience, you will chase that experience.
All the time.
That's why we don't learn from our experiences. People tend to repeat the same thing again and again and again because it was a mindless experience. And it can either be a positive experience, being something that you were looking for.
Yeah.
And it can both, but we do tend to talk about the negative things, right? That we don't. But both those experiences you'll never own and learn and discover and be able to grow from, because you didn't enter into the experience from a mindful choice. And for me, you didn't enter into the experience from a place of taking ownership for who you are. So in an effort to do that with my students, I created an experience. It was the mindful phone call.
Okay. Tell us more about this.
So yes, so the student had to call me before they began their practice to tell me that they're going to begin their mindful practice.
Okay.
And at the end of it, they called me to acknowledge that they had finished their mindful practice. That was the framework.
Gotcha.
And some parents go, I don't get it. Why? What's this all about? It doesn't make any sense. My kid hates the phone, all this stuff. But putting aside, this actually has nothing to do with them practicing the piano. This mindful phone call was about them taking time to acknowledge who they are as they entered into the activity of practice. So the phone call required them to mindfully make a choice to pick up the
phone,
then to mindfully either find my phone number, remember my phone number, right? Push redial or whatever. I was about to say do all the dialing. How old I am, right? The dial. But guess what? There's more mindfulness in the old dial phones.
Yes.
I'm just saying, you see, we've become a world that's mindless because of technology. Though it's supposed to help and make your life more efficient, I'm telling you, it's actually doing the opposite. You're losing your tickety-tackety relationship, physical relationship with yourself.
Well, I'll tell you this, butt dialing did not exist during the time of the dial phone. And I think what that speaks to, I like that we've gone on this because it speaks to the fact of just even that experience, going back in time, through time, all in time. With the dial phone, you had to make a mindful choice to have the number in your head of the person that you were going to call. And if you messed up any one of those numbers, you had to go back and start from scratch. And so essentially, you ended up through that, if you made a mistake, practicing the correct number to dial because you didn't want to have to make this mistake again. Now we scroll through and mindlessly tap or type or something. There's no mindful choice. I'm sure if you talk to maybe 75% of people, they maybe only know 10% of the numbers that are in their massive contact list by heart because it's no longer a mindful choice to remember those numbers.
Right. Yeah. So coming back, about mindfulness, to experience mindfulness requires you to make a mindful choice. And then you might have a mindful experience that will invite you or will reveal to you a possibility of how you can celebrate yourself.
Yeah.
And become more aware of yourself in your activity of words, of sounds, of relationships. So it comes back again. Everyone, I shouldn't say everyone again, I get myself in trouble, but I'm going to say that there's a huge percentage. The conversation's about all the things out there that are happening to us.
Yes.
If you wish to change that experience, the external experience that you're having, I encourage you to consider and invite you to take time to look within,
Yes.
to acknowledge who you are
the
first. Internalize, acknowledge yourself.
Yeah.
In other words, the old saying, if you don't love yourself, you can't love someone else.
Yeah.
You know, again, if you can't help yourself, you can't really insightfully help others.
Yeah.
There are so many people and so many organizations that are trying to help other people. And what it is I say this, people trying to help others as a way of avoiding taking ownership for who they are.
This is true. Yeah, this is true. A lot of things can come from a place of, wow, yeah, this is very interesting. So even rewinding the conversation again, where you talked about you can have an experience and it can be a great experience, but if it was not approached mindfully, you will be forever chasing having that experience again and again because it didn't come from a place of mindfulness.
Right. Yeah.
So you can have a lot of generosity. You can have a lot of, you know, the showing of support or love or listening to someone. But if it doesn't come from a mindful place of you acknowledging yourself for who you are, first of all, and believing in what it is that you say and do, then what you say and do then just becomes a dance, just becomes noise. When someone comes back to you to say, oh, well, you've changed. You never used to be like that. Well, they weren't being themselves in the first place. So how could you then expect them to be that way to you or that way to a particular situation?
And this is
fascinating.
Yeah. So the challenge again is we live in a world where people want to know what they get before they do.
Yes.
But you will never discover what awaits you until you do. So if you have to understand before you do, you will never come to any type of understanding. Because if you believe you understand, then what's the point of doing? I remember one of my piano students saying to me, and young people are so bright, and you know, I feel like I was very slow as a child compared to the kids, but that's about you know I guess how we share information, et cetera, has you know evolved and stuff. And I'll put it this way, how do I say? What they said to me was they would look to, I'll talk music now. They would look at a piano piece and they would understand it here. But they didn't understand the need for the physical repetition because they understood it here. Thus, they believed they could do it. So until you live, you will never appreciate something. So in other words, it's in the living, or I'll put it this way, you can be smart, you can be informed, but wisdom comes from experience.
Yes.
From living, from being. You can't shortchange wisdom just because you read a lot. And so there's our challenge. So the point what he shared with me, it took him the longest time, and it wasn't until off to university where suddenly he got it. That what you can't cheat, what you can't bypass is that insight, appreciation, understanding, discovery comes from physically living. You can't cheat it. It's like someone dating, and they were much younger than myself, and they were wonderful and insightful, and everyone thought they were the cat's meow. And I said, but as bright, and I assured them I wasn't interested. As kind as you are, as brilliant as you are, as mature as you are, you're not a dateable for me because I've lived longer, and where I am in my journey of understanding and appreciation can't be made up.
Yeah.
And who I am moving forward. Or I could phrase it this way. Students, you know, are very quick nowadays to tell adults that they don't know what they're doing, and they know what they're doing, and that's fine. It doesn't bother me. They're just being who they are, who they believe they are.
Yes.
And so I just said this. I had 3 boys studying with me. And they were all quick and bright and quite often didn't always mindfully listen, and very strong-willed and doing it their own way. And I said, gentlemen, please stop. I assure you, all of you are going to be much bigger celebrities and stars or more skilled than I will ever be. Unfortunately for you, you are 14 years old. I am 50-something. I will be dead and gone by the time you get to 50 to assess your talent against my talent. Meaning, unfortunately, you'll never catch up to me while I'm alive, because you can't cheat the journey of time.
No, you can't.
And experience.
Yeah.
So right now, what I have on you, not that you play faster than me, you learn quicker than me, all those things. But the one thing you don't have is experience of time. So with that being said, it doesn't matter to me. Anyone can say anything to me. Right? So that didn't bother me at all. I love it when kids challenge me. They're letting me see who they are. I'm thrilled that they feel comfortable enough to challenge me.
Yeah.
You know, when a teacher says to me, and I've had colleagues say to me, they can't speak to you like that. They don't respect you. Well, respect. I don't need respect. The only person that needs to respect me is myself.
Yeah.
But I don't, that word again is a power word, and I'm not really into it. Right? I'm into taking time to acknowledge, because I've discovered in taking time to acknowledge myself and offer that to someone else, the byproduct of acknowledging myself and someone else, guess what, is respect.
Respect. Yeah. That's
but
true.
if I demand respect from you, Douglas, guess what's going to happen? Right?
It's not
People are
going to
defend.
reciprocated.
They're going to justify. You don't have the right to say that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yes. So I come back. What is practice? What is mindful practice? It comes back again. The first thing is taking time to make a mindful choice, what you believe.
Yeah.
And the one thing I believe is that we are awesome, that we're worthy to be who we are as we make mindful choices to create experiences that we do again and again and again if it's what we're looking for. That is what practice is. But practice goes all the way back to that first step, that you are awesome.
Awesome. Yeah.
And each of us eventually, and that's what the mindful phone call is, that this is what started this madness. The mindful phone call is not about the actual activity of practicing. That mindful phone call was about the student taking ownership for who they are, to pick up the phone, to make that phone call and leave that message. And then at the end of it, to take the time to acknowledge themselves that they finished the activity of practicing. Because in those bookends, the two acknowledgements of who they are, what's happening over what I call the actual activity will grow and improve. And they will take more ownership of it by taking ownership for who they are at the beginning and at the end. Yeah. And thus I say again, let's look at, I believe that if it's a universal truth, it applies to music, it applies to hockey, it applies to life. So this is a universal truth for me, because the most two valuable moments that you should acknowledge who you are as you become more connected to who you are is the waking breath and the good night breath. And you said the easiest one was first thing in the morning. Yeah. So again, we've talked about this. Mindfully choose to practice. Breathe in, smile. I am who I am worthy to be who I am. That's the first thing. Yeah. Do that every day. To get a calendar, and as you get out of bed, check it off. Monday, check it off. Like, get a physical reminder.
Yes.
Right?
Put it into practice. So believe it.
Act upon.
Dream it. Act upon it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You see this, but it requires you to make a
mindful choice.
So again, I get excited because it's like I feel like I'm in a loop. It is not complicated. It just requires you to take ownership of who you are and make a mindful choice. But we're so far removed about all the things and the problems out there.
Yeah.
But it's that easy.
Before we would take, as you said, before we even take the journey, we want to see the results. You go to a personal trainer They're like, I can turn you from this to this in X amount of time. Okay, you can do that to me? Great. And then they take the same amount of time, they go through the training, and then they don't achieve the same results. And we're mad at the trainer because the trainer didn't fulfill on what they promised. When really we should be looking inside to say, did you really have that in you? Were you acknowledging yourself? Maybe that isn't your ideal. Maybe it's something else. But instead of acknowledging yourself, you're like, no, I'm going to do all these things and then I can be that person because that is successful. That is right. That is what everyone wants. But what do you want? What do you believe?
Right. And so, of course, the things we were sort of talking about are external things, right? Body image, right? And again, why not? I'm in the mood. Victim bully conversation.
Oh, yes.
And words. Let's talk about words. To become a victim of words, and even if they're inappropriate words, okay, that they're politically incorrect, okay? But words, to become the victim of words, you first have to believe that whatever the words are, that they're true.
Yes.
So the first you have to believe what is being said.
Yes.
Then step 2, you have to take it personally. Then you have to then act upon it, either going, to parents, to friends, etc., and putting it into action, okay? So it takes 3 things to happen to create a bully from words.
Yeah.
No, don't get me wrong, right? That why can't we be more eloquent with our language, right? But again, I'm just saying we waste so much time on words. I'm more interested in actions, right? Because that's where change comes from.
Yes, the putting into practice.
Just because you change a word doesn't change the internal emotional actions of people.
Exactly.
So, but I'm not going to get into that because, again, that's...
We're building our way there. We're building our way there.
So I come back. Stop being a victim of words. And the madness of it all, there's so many assumptions. For example, every word that I've spoken today, depending on what you believe, you will interpret those words.
Yes.
In your belief system.
Yeah.
Every word has a belief history for each of us. You are what you believe, and what you believe you will experience. So what more can I offer someone than to say that I accept you as you are? Whether we agree or disagree, I let you know that you are awesome. My experience of mindfully practicing that is I start to lose interest in the external noise. But I also discover in that conversation, that belief, is that my words do become kinder. I do become more aware of my tongue and what it might be saying. In other words, all the things that people are screaming about and all that conversation,
and looking for answers.
I have no issue with it, Douglas. But I'm saying, if people don't come to it from within, then there'll still be toxicity.
Yes.
And my point is this: that when we come from a place of kindness, accepting ourselves and taking ownership for ourselves, what I've discovered is people are much more generous in what they offer others.
Yeah. It's
but
true.
When I say the other way, impose upon rules and regulations, I find that people stop listening and they actually don't act upon, they don't put into action from the heart. They come from the mind. It's okay. There are many ways of getting somewhere, but I come back and saying that I only get one breath at a time. And if I'm waiting for the world to get it, for everyone to get it, come on, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
And if you truly have to regulate something, then it's not.
Yeah, it's not being done from here. It is not an acknowledgement of the actual person, of who they are. they're doing it to please you. They're doing it because of what you believe, not because of what they believe.
Great. And so that's why I say, what is the common belief that we can come to?
Yeah.
Because even within our own communities, we can't agree.
Goodness. Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's the madness, right? We're looking for, and I'm saying within our own communities.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'm off base here.
Oh, just take your typical family, for example. Both of them are, let's say, you know, mom and dad. Both of them say have a belief system, but one believes in one thing more than the other. Dad's a staunch Republican and mom's a Democrat, but the kid's a conservative, and, you know, the daughter's an independent, and, you know, she believes in feminism and all of those things, and her brother, you know, cheers for the Raptors instead of the Golden State Warriors. The complexity and dynamics, you know, everyone's not going to be on the same level. Yeah.
So that's why I come back, and where I will put my energy, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, whether you're this or that, that I will start from the place that you are who you are worthy to be who you are, that you are awesome. And that from a place that we take the time to take ownership for who we are and do our best to find a kind way as we make mindful choices that we act upon, that we put into action, that we practice. That we mindfully practice by making a mindful choice that we put into action. And in that experience, we then have the courage, the curiosity, the determination to mindfully say yes or no. Not maybe. It was this, it was that. No, it's either yes or no.
Yeah.
Because in other conversation, if I say oh, well, that was better, there's nothing to inspire me to take ownership for what did happen.
Keyword.
As I say, stop saying hope.
Yeah.
Just try is an excuse for not doing.
Yeah.
Hope is a way of not taking ownership for not resolving starving people in the world. Okay, and we say it all the time.
Yeah.
Those words.
True. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I have hope. In other words, I believe that we can, right? But when we say I hope that we can do better. No, you either do or you don't.
Yes.
So these words, they unhealthy words. And so again, at some point we'll talk about word choice, right? Word choice can inspire you to take ownership for who you are, right? But we use words to hide, to excuse, to defend. Okay. So words can open your heart, your imagination to possibilities, or do the opposite, slam you down. But putting that aside, again, as you heard already, I don't put a lot of importance in the sense that if I'm waiting for the world to use words the way I believe they should, I will die a bitter old man. So I have made a mindful choice to invest my energy, my curiosity, my compassion in an effort to find grace and to find a kind way that in the seed of accepting myself, the good and the bad, the dark and the light, everything, and offer that to others, that what I have experienced and seen is extraordinary and wonderful and freeing. So that being said, mindful practice requires you to make a mindful choice first about what you believe. And so mindful practice starts with me, you, taking ownership for who you are.
The individual.
And thus the first thing to practice mindfully, making a mindful choice, is to acknowledge that you are
awesome.
And that from a place of being worthy, you enter into an activity where you might stumble, you might soar, but you'll never give away your joy for who you are to any word or any activity or experience. I will always take ownership for my experience, and I can do that easily with mindful practice through the mindful choice of I am who I am, worthy I am, worthy to be who I am. Now, gosh, that takes forever. So it's simple, gang. Breathe in, smile, in that smile is that little statement, I am who I am.
Yeah.
I believe in who I am. I believe in who you are, and that you are worthy to dream, to reach for the stars, to do your best to write your story from a place of curiosity, compassion. But on that journey, never forget that you are worthy. And I know by taking ownership of that simple little idea and mindfully practicing it, making the mindful choice to mindfully practice it, because I believe in who I am, because I've made the mindful choice that that's what I'm going to mindfully practice, that I will begin to awaken and learn and discover more about who I
am
within my journey of breath, time, possibilities, within my journey of school, within my journey of relationships, with the relationship with myself, with others.
Yeah.
And it's that simple. You have to make a mindful choice. What do you believe? And then take the time to invest in practicing that idea.
Yeah.
And whatever comes out of that, you'll awaken to. Stop chasing the external achievement, all that business. That's a byproduct. That's not where the answers are. That is where the confusion will be found. So I come back today, and I guess it's time to stop making assumptions, start asking questions, to stop being a victim of our experiences and our mindless beliefs, and start being the champion of making mindful choices about what I believe, in an effort to do my best to find a kind way to write my story, to celebrate each breath, in an effort to invite people, to invite everyone, that we can find grace and kindness within ourselves and share that with each other. But it will require each of us to make the mindful choice and to mindfully practice who I am and take ownership for that. So, as always, and that's why these 5 words that I end with my students at every lesson, and when I pick up the mindful phone call at the end, when they say I finished my mindful practice, I let them know that I am grateful for who they are by thank you for being you. And I am grateful that you took the time to acknowledge yourself with that mindful phone call in your activity today of practice, of finding a kind way to say hello, finding a kind way to take ownership for whatever it may be. So I'm telling you, in those 5 words, we can change who we are and each other by just taking the time to acknowledge each other and ourselves. Thank you for just being you. And I am blown away with all the extraordinary things, ideas, possibilities that you create. But again, whether you create or don't create, the beauty, the insight, the understanding, the appreciation, the discovery is from thank you for just being you.
Yeah.
So Douglas, as always, gracias por ser tu, merci d'être vous.
Hey.
And I talked a lot today, didn't I?
We both shared a lot. And I believe that this was, another wonderful experience in which you allowed yourself to be you. And so it wasn't you talked a lot or I talked or shared this or that. You were allowing yourself to be, just be.
So I finish. You are what you believe. What you believe, you will experience.
Yes.
What you experience, you are practicing. What you practice will be your reality. My question is it true? Is it true what you practice? Is it true what you believe? Breathe in, smile, and consider this week the value of taking ownership for who you are by making a mindful choice to mindfully acknowledge yourself to the best of your ability, breath by breath. Breathe in, smile. Until our next adventure, Douglas.
Until the next one, Mr. Paul, thank you so much for coming out to our viewers. Thank you so much for tuning in again. And we look forward to seeing you on the next one. And we have little bite-sized tidbits coming at some point. I believe you called them TickatiTackati experiences.
The TickatiTackati thought of the day.
There we go.
In an effort to find a kinder way, we're hoping to create little TickatiTackati thoughts of the day that you can mindfully choose to mindfully reflect upon breath by breath, smile by smile.
Well, I look forward to that. In the meantime, take care, Mr. Paul. Until the next one.
Beautiful.